Let us start our today's topic. So yesterday we were discussing about the endoplasmic reticulum. Now you know this endoplasmic reticulum, which is formed of three elements: cisternae, tubules, and vesicles. Then we classified this endoplasmic reticulum into three types: rough endoplasmic reticulum, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and sarcoplasmic reticulum. Now you know rough endoplasmic reticulum is most abundant in protein-forming cells. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum is most abundant in lipid-forming cells or steroid-forming cells. And this sarcoplasmic reticulum, it is particularly found in muscle cells. So yesterday we were discussing about the terminology in this muscle cells. Yesterday I told you that plasma membrane or plasma lemma of muscle cells is known as sarcolemma, and cytoplasm of muscle cells is known as sarcoplasm. Similarly, endoplasmic reticulum of muscle cells is known as sarcoplasmic reticulum. So if this is a muscle cell, if this is a muscle cell, you know, muscle cells, they are often referred to as muscle fibers. We call muscle cells as muscle fibers also. Why? Because they are thread-like elongated cells. So this muscle cell, it is externally covered by a sarcolemma. It is externally covered by sarcolemma. Just below the sarcolemma, what should we find? If this is a typical animal cell, if this is a normal animal cell, it is externally covered by plasma lemma. Plasma lemma. What is present inside plasma lemma? Inside plasma lemma, there is cytoplasm. What is present inside the cytoplasm? Then we find a nucleus in the cytoplasm. We find nucleus in the endoplasm. We find nucleus in the endoplasm. But in a muscle cell, just below the sarcolemma, if we remove the sarcolemma, if we will cut this sarcolemma, if we will take out this section of sarcolemma, just below the sarcolemma, we find there are many nuclei. There are many nuclei. You know, these muscle cells, skeletal muscle cells, they are multinucleated. I hope you remember what is a multinucleated animal cell called as. In the beginning of this chapter, I told you multinucleated animal cells, they are known as syncytial cells, right? So this is a multinucleated cell. When we remove the sarcolemma, when we cut this sarcolemma, we remove the sarcolemma. Just below the sarcolemma, we find nuclei. In a typical animal cell, if we remove plasma lemma, just below the plasma lemma, we will find cytoplasm. First exoplasm, then endoplasm. Then inside the endoplasm, we may find nucleus. But the case is different here. When we remove the sarcolemma, just below the sarcolemma, we find nuclei. So this muscle cell, it is a multinucleated muscle cell. It is known as syncytial cell, right? Now, if we remove these nuclei, what we will find below the nuclei? If we remove these nuclei, if we remove these nuclei, just below the nuclei, what we find? We find there is the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Just below the nuclei, there is sarcoplasmic reticulum. This is the sarcoplasmic reticulum. This is the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So I will repeat again. When we remove the sarcolemma of a muscle cell, just below the sarcolemma, we find many nuclei, right? Now we removed those nuclei. Just below the nuclei, we find sarcoplasmic reticulum. This is sarcoplasmic reticulum. Here, this sarcoplasmic reticulum, it is in the form of tubules. These are the tubules. The dots, they indicate the tubules. These are the tubules of sarcoplasmic reticulum. Dotted areas, they indicate the tubules of sarcoplasmic reticulum. These dotted areas, they are the tubules of sarcoplasmic reticulum. Right? In between these tubules, there are sac-like structures. These sac-like structures, they are cisternae. They are cisternae. These are the tubules. So this sarcoplasmic reticulum, it is in the form of alternating sac-like cisternae known as sac-like structures known as cisternae, and this is another cisternae. These are again cisternae. In between cisternae, there are tube-like structures known as tubules. Right? In the center of this cisternae, there is a groove-like structure. This groove-like structure, which is present in the center of cisternae, this is known as T-tubule. This is known as T-tubule, right? So this is one T-tubule, this is another T-tubule. This T-tubule is present in the center of the cisternae, right? So in sarcoplasmic reticulum, there are alternating tubules and cisternae. These dotted areas, they are the tubules. These plain areas, they are the cisternae, right? Dotted areas are the tubules and plain areas are the cisternae. In the center of cisternae, there are tube-like structures or there are groove-like structures. These tube-like or groove-like structures, they are known as tubules. So this endoplasmic reticulum is modified in muscle cells. So this modified endoplasmic reticulum, which is present in the muscle cells, this is known as sarcoplasmic reticulum. So sarcoplasmic reticulum is only found in muscle cells and it is a modified endoplasmic reticulum. It is just present below the nuclei and cytoplasm is present inner to it. Cytoplasm is present inner to it. So this is sarcolemma. Then there are many nuclei. These are the nuclei in the sarcolemma, below the sarcolemma. Then below these nuclei, there is the endoplasmic reticulum in the form of tubules and vesicles. Then inside this endoplasmic reticulum, there is the sarcoplasm. There is the cytoplasm of muscle cell known as sarcoplasm. Right? Hope you are understanding what I am saying. So outermost covering is sarcolemma. Below sarcolemma, there are nuclei. These are the nuclei. Below nuclei, there is sarcoplasmic reticulum. And inner to sarcoplasmic reticulum, there is the sarcoplasm. And in this sarcoplasm, there are small fiber-like structures. These small fiber-like structures, they are known as myofibrils. These are the myofibrils, which are present inner to sarcoplasmic reticulum. So this is the structure of sarcoplasmic reticulum in a muscle cell, right? Now, what is its function in a muscle cell? In muscle cell, this sarcoplasmic reticulum, it is specially involved in conduction of neuroimpulses into sarcoplasm. So a muscle cell is supplied by neurofibers. A muscle cell may be supplied by neurofibers. These are the neurofibers. They supply a muscle cell. Neurofibers, they bring in neuroimpulses. So these are the neuroimpulses which are coming to the muscle cell. These neuroimpulses, they pass from neurofibers to sarcolemma. Neuroimpulses pass from neurofibers to sarcolemma. Then this sarcolemma, it conducts the neuroimpulses deep into the sarcoplasm of the muscle cell. So it transfers the neuroimpulse, this wave of depolarization, into the sarcoplasm of the muscle cells, where these myofibrils then contract. So the first function of sarcoplasmic reticulum in muscle cells is conduction of neuroimpulse. So neuroimpulses, they are brought to muscle cells by neurofibers. From neurofibers, neuroimpulses are passed on to sarcolemma. Sarcolemma gets depolarized and it carries this wave of depolarization through its T-tubule down into sarcoplasm. And in the sarcoplasm, the nerve impulse reaches to myofibrils, and then the muscle cells contract, right? So the first function of this sarcoplasmic reticulum is conduction of nerve impulses. Number second function, this sarcoplasmic reticulum in muscle cells, it is involved in storage, and release of calcium. Sarcoplasmic reticulum in muscle cells is involved in storage and release of calcium. So when the nerve fibers when the nerve impulses arrive, when the nerve impulses arrive, those nerve impulses, when they pass into sarcoplasmic reticulum, this sarcoplasmic reticulum at that time releases calcium. It releases calcium. That calcium binds to proteins of the myofibrils, and myofibrils start contraction. So for contraction of muscle cell, release of calcium is essential. So where from this calcium is released? This calcium is released from sarcoplasmic reticulum. When does sarcoplasmic reticulum release calcium? When the nerve impulses arrive. So when nerve impulses arrive, they pass on to sarcoplasmic reticulum. At that time, sarcoplasmic reticulum releases calcium. That calcium binds to proteins of the myofibrils, and myofibrils start contraction. So release of calcium initiates muscle contraction. And calcium is only released when nerve impulses arrive. And calcium is released from sarcoplasmic reticulum. When the muscle relaxes, when the nerve impulses stop, at that time these myofibrils, they set this calcium free. They release this calcium. And at that time, this calcium is stored back into sarcoplasmic reticulum. So sarcoplasmic reticulum, it releases calcium, and when the muscle contraction is over, then it stores back. It takes back this calcium and keeps it stored, right? That is the second function of sarcoplasmic reticulum. So the first function is conduction of nerve impulse. Second function is storage and release of calcium. Then in addition to these functions, this sarcoplasmic reticulum, it carries out other normal functions as carried out by rough endoplasmic reticulum or smooth endoplasmic reticulum. It may be involved in protein synthesis, it may be involved in lipid synthesis, or it may be involved in transport of materials. So that is all about the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Hope you have understood it. Now, what is the overall function of endoplasmic reticulum? What is the overall function of endoplasmic reticulum? What are the combined functions of endoplasmic reticulum? So endoplasmic reticulum, particularly RER, is involved in protein synthesis. It is involved in protein synthesis. As I told you yesterday, endoplasmic reticulum itself does not form proteins. Actually, rough endoplasmic reticulum has got ribosomes on it. Ribosomes form polypeptide chains. Then ribosomes release those polypeptide chains into the lumen of this rough endoplasmic reticulum. And in the lumen of this rough endoplasmic reticulum, those polypeptide chains, they become bent fold and they assume the three-dimensional structure. Similarly, SER, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it is involved in synthesis of lipids and sterols. It is involved in synthesis of lipids and sterols. It forms lipids and steroids. Sorry, you write here steroids. It is involved in formation of lipids and steroids, right? So hormones which are formed from sterols are known as steroid hormones, and they are synthesized in smooth endoplasmic reticulum. In addition to that, this smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it is also involved in glycosylation of proteins and lipids, and glycosylation of lipids. So what is glycosylation? Smooth endoplasmic reticulum is also involved in glycosylation of proteins and glycosylation of lipids. So what is glycosylation? Glycosylation means adding oligosaccharide chain, oligosaccharide, oligosaccharide tags to proteins or lipids. So when oligosaccharide chains are attached to proteins or lipids, that process is known as glycosylation. That process is known as glycosylation. You know, first the proteins are formed. Then to those proteins, oligosaccharide chains are attached. Similarly, lipids are formed. Then to those lipids, oligosaccharide chains are attached. Right? So this process of attaching oligosaccharide chains to proteins or lipids, this is known as glycosylation. Right? So when oligosaccharide chains are attached to proteins, what does it form? It forms glycoprotein. When oligosaccharide chain is attached to a protein, it forms a glycoprotein. When oligosaccharide chains are attached to lipids, it forms glycolipids. So this glycosylation of proteins and lipids, it is carried out in smooth endoplasmic reticulum. This smooth endoplasmic reticulum is also involved in synthesis and storage of glycogen. Formation of glycogen from glucose, that is known as when glucose is converted into glycogen. What is this process known as? This is known as glycogenesis. Glycogenesis. So this glycogenesis, it occurs in the lumina of smooth endoplasmic reticulum. It occurs in the lumina of smooth endoplasmic reticulum, right? So this is another function of smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Other cellular micromolecules or macromolecules, they are also formed in smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Other cellular micromolecules and macromolecules may also be formed in the lumina of smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Then this endoplasmic reticulum, it acts as a cytoskeleton, endoskeleton of the cell. Endoplasmic reticulum acts as endoskeleton of the cell. It is cisternae, it is tubules, it is vesicles. They provide an internal support to the cell. They maintain the shape of the cell. So for that reason, we say that this endoplasmic reticulum, it also acts as an endoskeleton of the cell. And it also helps in intracellular transport of materials. Materials are received from ribosomes by rough endoplasmic reticulum. Similarly, some materials are synthesized in smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Then these rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum, they may get linked to the Golgi body, they may transport materials to Golgi body, or they may secrete the materials out of the cell. So intracellular transport system is formed of this endoplasmic reticulum. So they form intracellular transport system. Vesicles which are pinched off from smooth endoplasmic reticulum, they may join with the Golgi body, right? So they also carry the materials. So this endoplasmic reticulum, it forms intracellular transport system. So that is all about endoplasmic reticulum. These were the cumulative functions. Cumulative functions of endoplasmic reticulum. Now, after endoplasmic reticulum, we are going to discuss another cell organ. That is Golgi bodies. Golgi bodies. What are these Golgi bodies commonly known as? As the nucleus was known as director of the cell, or some people they call nucleus as brain of the cell. Similarly, mitochondria were known as powerhouses of the cell. What are Golgi body commonly known as? Golgi body, they are commonly known as post offices, post office of the cell. Golgi bodies are commonly known as post office of the cell. I hope you understand what is the function of post office. Post office receives materials in the form of letters, in the form of parcels from different locations. Then, after reading the address, then it dispatches them to specific locations, right? Similarly, Golgi bodies, they receive materials from different sources, then they deliver them to specific address, right? That is why they are known as post office of the cell. Who discovered these Golgi bodies? They were discovered by Camillo Golgi in 1880, in 1898. In 1898, these Golgi bodies were discovered by Camillo Golgi, right? Golgi body was described by Mollenhauer and Moore in 1966 as a single stack of cisternae along with its associated tubules and vesicles. So a Golgi body was defined by Mollenhauer and Moore in 1966 as a single stack of cisternae along with its associated tubules and vesicles. So this is the definition of a single Golgi body. But a cell does not have a single Golgi body. Cell may have more than one Golgi body. Then all the Golgi bodies of a cell are collectively known as a Golgi apparatus. A Golgi apparatus or a Golgi complex So you may have heard the terms. Sometimes we say Golgi complex, sometimes we say Golgi apparatus, sometimes we use the word Golgi body. So Golgi body is a singular structure, right? Golgi apparatus or Golgi complex, it includes many single structures, right? So Molnar and Moore described a Golgi body as a single stack of cisternae along with its associated tubules and vesicles. So a single stack of cisternae, along with its tubules and vesicles. This single stack of cisternae along with its tubules and vesicles, it makes one Golgi body. And all the Golgi bodies of a cell are collectively known as Golgi apparatus or Golgi complex. Is it clear to you? Okay. Golgi bodies of plants and invertebrates, they are known by some other name. Golgi apparatus or Golgi bodies of plants and invertebrates, they are known by some other name. They are also called as Golgi bodies of plants and invertebrates. and invertebrates. They are also known as dictyosomes. Dictyosomes, also known as dictyosomes. So Golgi bodies of plants and invertebrates are also known as dictyosomes, right? And in these plants and invertebrates, Golgi bodies are mostly diffuse. Diffuse means there are many stacks of Golgi bodies scattered in the cytoplasm. They are mostly diffuse. Diffuse means many individual units of Golgi bodies are scattered in cytoplasm. In cytoplasm. When there are many individual units of Golgi body scattered throughout the cytoplasm, that condition is known as diffused Golgi body. If all the Golgi cisternae, tubules, and vesicles are present at one place, at a single place, then we call that as a localized Golgi. The Golgi body may be localized or it may be diffused. In a localized Golgi body, all the components of Golgi bodies, cisternae, tubules, and vesicles, they are present at one place as a single unit. They are present at one place as a single unit. When such a structure is found, that is known as a localized Golgi body. In diffused Golgi body, there are small stacks of cisternae along with tubules or vesicles scattered throughout the cytoplasm. So those individual units of Golgi bodies, which are scattered throughout the cytoplasm, they are known as diffused Golgi body. And when all the structures are present at one place and they are interlinked, that is known as a localized Golgi body, right? So that is about the Golgi body introduction. Now we will have a look at the structure of this Golgi body. We will have a look at the structure of Golgi. A Golgi body is formed of three elements. Again, cisternae, tubules, and vesicles. The Golgi body is formed of three elements: cisternae, tubules, and vesicles. What are these cisternae? These are small, sac-like or ball-like structures with swollen tips. Cisternae are ball-like or sac-like structures with swollen or dilated tips. So these ball-like or sac-like structures, which are having dilated tips, they are known as the cistern. This is the dilated tip. And these sac-like or ball-like structures, they are known as cisternae. So these cisternae, they are shallow. They are shallow, ball-like structures. And they have dilated tips. Right? These cisternae, they are stacked upon each other. How many cisternae may be stacked upon each other? 4 to 8 cisternae may form one stack. 4 to 8 cisternae may form one stack. These cisternae, from their dilated tips, they pinch off fluid-filled spherical structures. Fluid-filled spherical structures are pinched off from these dilated tips of the cistern. These fluid-filled spherical structures, they are known as the Golgi vesicles. They are known as Golgi vesicles. So these are the Golgi vesicles. So where from vesicles come? So vesicles are spherical fluid-filled structures which are pinched off from these dilated tips of the cistern. So these vesicles are formed off from the tips of these dilated cisternae, right? Then these cisternae may be followed by short structures which join together to form a cistern. These are cisternae in formation. So this Golgi body, it has got two faces. Its one face is concave. This face is concave. This face of Golgi body, it is convex. So it has got polarity. Golgi body has got polarity. This concave face, it is always towards the plasma membrane. It is always towards plasma membrane of the cell. Concave face of the Golgi body is always towards plasma membrane of the cell. Whereas it is convex face, it is directed towards the nucleus or ER, right? So a Golgi body has got a polarity. It has got two faces. One face, which is concave, is always directed towards the plasma membrane. This concave face of Golgi body, it is known as TGN. It is known as TGN. TGN stands for, it is known as TGN. TGN stands for Trans-Golgi network. Trans-Golgi network. So this face, concave face of the Golgi body, it is known as TGN, Trans-Golgi network, or we also call it as maturation phase. Maturation phase, or we also call it as maturation phase. So here on this phase, the Golgi body matures, right? So this concave face of the Golgi body, it is known as TGN, Trans-Golgi network, or it is known as maturation phase. This convex face of Golgi body, it is known as CGN. It is known as CGN. CGN stands for Cis-Golgi network. Cis-Golgi network, or we call it as cisternal phase. Cisternal phase, or it is also known as formative. Formative phase of Golgi body, right? So this Golgi body has got a definite polarity. It has got two faces, Trans-Golgi network and cisternal Golgi network. Trans-Golgi network is known as maturation phase, and cisternal Golgi network is known as cisternal phase or formative phase. I think we are running out of time. This is sufficient for today. We will discuss, inshallah, it tomorrow again. Thank you. I know you have to attend other classes.